Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fusel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, Where Truth Matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. Central. As I get right on with you in the afternoon, you can find us on the radio at icradio.media, where we're Fox News affiliates. We're playing Christmas music all 24/7. So we appreciate you listening there. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, Abundance Television syndicated, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. I have with me a very good friend. Her name is Terri LaPoint, and we have talked about this book several times, Terri. And you have a special guest who's going to be coming in and joining us in just a few minutes. This book is one you just can't put down. I mean, it's almost frightening, but we know that these things that you're writing in the book are true. Mm-hmm. And it should make us all be on a crusade for children.
Yes.
Everyone who reads this. And so what was the point of the book? So what happened? Why did you start the book?
Well, this lovely lady, to that side. Okay. Kathy Hall, I met her after I'd been researching medical kidnap stories for a while, for about 4 years, of Child Protective Services taking children from their families that they shouldn't be taking. And a friend of mine called me when I was in Washington, D.C. one time. They said, "You've got to meet Kathy Hall. She's in Washington, D.C. at the same time as you are. You've got to hear her story." And I was like, okay. And I trusted her. So I made a few phone calls and got an Uber and met her at her hotel. And it's like, it wasn't a medical kidnapping so much, but it was Child Protective Services taking a child they shouldn't have taken. And there was so much compelling about her story. And as I got to know her better, it's like, we need to tell your story. And I asked her how much of it she wanted me to tell, and she said all of it. And I thought, this isn't just an article or even a half a dozen articles. This is a book. And because the things that happened in there, in the book, with her child being taken and adopted out to strangers, and then her daughter was killed by an illegal. And then she became really good friends with the senator, and she can tell you a lot about that, but she became really good friends with a senator who was digging into this dark history, the side of Child Protective Services that most of the public is not aware of, where they're taking children and they're literally trafficking them. These children, these missing children, are going into child trafficking, many of them, or they're just being sent. They're taken from innocent families. They're taken away from families that have relatives that can take care of them. And while the senator was investigating and digging and just about to expose what they had learned, she was murdered. So Kathy has a perspective that's not being talked about anywhere in the media, really. She has a very valuable perspective. She knew the senator well, and this is backed up with evidence. She sent me screenshots. She sent me conversations that they've had. I dug through and listened to hours and hours of interviews and articles and shows that they've done. So there's a lot that's out there that everybody needs to know about. The enemy tried to silence their voices, and Kathy, I am so glad that she refuses to be silenced. She's not shutting up, and she keeps on talking about the things that we need to all know about. So there you go.
Kathy, and welcome to the show. We would like to hear your story.
Oh, thank you. Well, it started before my daughter was killed. DHS had shown up at the door with the police and insisted on taking my granddaughter. My daughter had gone for the weekend to her cousin's house out of state. And I guess apparently somebody had reported that she abandoned her. And I said, no, there's been a mistake. I can call my daughter right now. She'll be on the next flight home. And they said, well, that's fine. And they took my granddaughter, and although we called my daughter and she told them that I haven't abandoned anybody. I've been working and going to school. So I wanted a weekend away, and I left my daughter with my mom. And they informed her, to come back. But they still took my granddaughter. And we'd been fighting for her for almost a year to the day. when my daughter was killed by an illegal alien on her way home. She was on the back of a scooter, about, I guess, maybe a mile from home, when a man going 71 in a 35-mile-an-hour zone hit my daughter and her friend, David, who were on a scooter. My daughter was on the back of it. And my daughter took the blunt of the impact, but the scooter, she flew up onto the hood, and then her friend David, that was driving the scooter, he and the scooter went underneath the truck, and he was trapped. Instead of slowing down or stopping, he turned really quick at trying to knock her off the hood, which he did at 71 miles an hour, head first into the road. And David was drug underneath the truck for about a mile, and sparks started happening underneath. So the man decided to pull into a apartment building and hide the truck at that point. But the trucks had started, David's legs had been trapped between the ground and the scooter, and he lost his legs there on the road. And the man parked and disappeared from that point for 3 days, and left David in the driveway screaming for his life, for somebody to help him. My daughter survived for about 6 hours. After that, she really, there was a trauma surgeon behind, about 3 cars behind, that started life support on the road, but she was clinically brain dead from the minute he hit her. The man hid for 3 days. It was election day 2016 when they finally found him. I had no idea what that would signify for my life, and at the time I really didn't care. I wasn't paying much attention because turning on the TV, the man's face was plastered on the TV along with the results coming in from the election. And when we got the call that he had been located and they had him, I received a phone call 45 minutes later telling me he had been released on a $20,000 bond. $25,000 bond, I'm sorry. And this is 3 days later. Now, my daughter has already passed away. David is not expected to make it, and they gave him a $25,000 bond. I was just dumbfounded. It wasn't until, well, let me back up a little bit. They had told me he'd been released, and they wanted me to know before the press found out, because there was the wanted in 3 different states on the TV constantly until he was located. Then they didn't want to charge him for my daughter's death. They only wanted to charge him with leaving the scene of an accident. And so I started going to my lawmakers and to the news, and I said, no, this isn't okay. And I fought for every charge that we had gotten on him. And it wasn't until 7 months later that I had a meeting with the prosecuting attorney, and I put the picture of my daughter in the hospital on life support right in front of him and left it there. And I had blown it up pretty big. And I told him, I said, I understand I'm not inhuman, that accidents happen every single day. But this man knew he hit my daughter. He knew her body was on the hood of his truck. Mm-hmm. He didn't slow down. He didn't stop. He made that conscious decision to fling her off headfirst into the road. And at that point, as far as I was concerned, it was murder. At the end of the meeting, he told us he would be charging him with second-degree murder. And he agreed with me. But it took a long time to get there. Then they tried to say in the beginning that he wasn't speeding. So we had a reconstructionist come in who was a Little Rock police officer that was getting ready to retire. And he was the best in the state for doing the reconstruction. And that's when he finally had the black boxes removed from the truck. But by then it had already been wiped. I don't know why it wasn't from the beginning taken out. But he informed us then that he was illegal. We had no idea before that. We had never been told. Mm-hmm. So then my question was, why was he released on bond? Why was he not rearrested on the second-degree murder charge, and they just left his bond and left everything like it was and upped the charges on it? And they said, well, that's the way the county had done it there. But once we found out his status, I said, well, he's a flight risk. Why is he not in custody? Why has ICE not been called? So they informed me that if they were to contact ICE, that he would be taken down to Texas and deported and would not ever spend a day in jail for murdering my daughter. And so at that point, we just kind of left it alone a little bit. Then I found out at sentencing that that was untrue. The ICE, the federal holding facility for immigrants, was right there at the jail in the county we were in, and we had no idea. It took 17 months. They ended up giving him, a new prosecutor came in and downgraded the charges and did a plea deal, and where he got 10 years for manslaughter on my daughter, 5 years for battery on David, and then 2 years for leaving the scene of an accident. Subsequently, David, 2 years later, not having any legs, had a blood clot that he was unaware of that traveled to his heart, and they said the cause of that had been from the loss of his legs. 2 years into this, we find out there's going to be already a parole hearing to release this man from jail. I was really upset. No, it was a year into it. We found out he would have the parole hearing. And about that time is when I started reaching out on Twitter and other social media sites, and had a response from Senator Linda Collins Smith about everything going on. And that's what started our friendship there. And then subsequently, she ended up going with me to Washington, D.C., to do some rallies there and to meet with President Trump. And we became very close, very, very close. David was still alive at this time. Linda ended up being murdered a year later. David died 6 months after Linda from the blood clot. So it's just me now to speak for all of them. And my granddaughter, as far as she goes with DHS, we had filed for a hearing for her to be placed with us since my daughter was deceased. There was no longer a DHS case, or shouldn't have been, and she should have gone to the next of kin immediately. And they didn't do that. They adopted her out without giving her to the next of kin. And the judge had blocked us every way we turned to try to bring my granddaughter home. And it's all in the book in more details. I don't want to give all the details out there, but, you know, on top of the loss of my daughter, then we had the loss of my granddaughter, and then who became my best friend, and then the other victim of this, and we've lost them all now.
I just have a question. So many things about this is just not right. We're living in America. Okay, if you're illegal, you're illegal. I mean, something needs to be done about that.
Let me tell you, anything you expect to happen in court, when it comes to an illegal, is a different case. Nothing is the same. The laws, the crimes are not handled the same. So if it were you or I or the neighbor who had committed the crimes that this man did, we would not have been up for parole 2 years after going to jail. And every 2 years, and normally it only would have been 1 year. Now, after killing my daughter in a manslaughter charge, they had him down as a non-violent offender, which means he only did less, I think it's a third of his time before he went up for parole. So normally when they go up for parole and they're non-violent offenders, the most they ever get is a denial for 1 year. We have been very lucky to where parents of murdered children have never seen it, and we have fought every hearing for him not to be released. And we've won 2 years, which is the most that they can give on a denial before the next one. So now every 2 years we're going and having to relive this over and over and over again. But nothing is the same when it comes to the courts. We would not have been treated the same. In fact, at sentencing, they sentenced him. They asked if he had anything to say to us, and he said, nope, was his exact words, although he wasn't supposed to be able to speak English and had translators. But he does speak English and understand it very well, we found out. But then they gave him another 2 weeks to get his affairs in order. And I was really upset at sentencing at this. I mean, I had waited a year and a half to see this man go to jail for killing my daughter. And they gave him 2 weeks and said they felt he wasn't a flight risk. He was an illegal alien that fled the scene and hid for 3 days till he couldn't hide anymore. And he wasn't a flight risk. I could not believe what I was hearing. Could not believe what I was hearing.
Well, just plain old being illegal, and I'm just using common horse sense here. Okay, so being illegal in the first place, and he's not a flight risk. Okay, so let me tell you what we're going through, and I want your opinion about this too, Kathy, and also you, Terry. Okay, so there was a long time ago, once upon a time, your sanctuary cities were, say, your Chicago, your New York, those places like that. It feels as if every small town USA now is a sanctuary city. We've got one right up here, Albertville, Alabama. We went to the bank, just regular bank to make a deposit, walked into the Wells Fargo bank. Illegals were everywhere. I did not feel safe. I felt afraid for the people who worked at the bank. This place was overcome with Haitians. Haitians were everywhere. And I mean, I looked at my husband and I said, I don't, is this the Albertville, Alabama that we all used to know a long time ago? It's nothing like it used to be. But it seems as if they're given all of the rights and we're giving absolutely none. What the heck? What has happened? Why is every town in the United States now a sanctuary city?
Actually, Arkansas, where my daughter was killed, is not. Linda and I helped with that bill to make it so that no city in Arkansas would be a sanctuary city. I live in Colorado currently, and we're a sanctuary state. And the reason is they're bringing in revenue from the illegals. Here in Colorado, we have to have birth certificates, social security cards, everything to go in and get a driver's license or renew. They need nothing. They can come straight here, get a driver's license, go anywhere in the U.S. and have it transferred over because they already have one. Mm-hmm. But yet we have a hard time doing anything here without all of our identification.
Well, this is another reason it's so important. A lot of during voting time, people say, well, I'm just going to vote for the general election. I don't care about, mayor. I really don't care about the, people who are in the city ordinances or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think it's pretty darn important. I heard that one of the meetings, someone asked about that, said, well, we feel like we don't have any rights whatsoever. All the rights are going to the illegals. And someone in the city council had enough guts to look at that person and say, but Jesus loves everybody. And I said, I would have loved to have been at that meeting. I would have said, so now it's okay to mention Jesus, because prior we could not mention the name of Jesus because we're offended. So now we can mention Jesus now that it fits your line of reasoning here. Yep. Something is wrong here. There's a money-making scheme here somewhere.
Well, and I believe a lot of it has to do with the votes and each one of the states getting extra funding to help with the illegal immigrants also. It's just like the same case as DHS, where they're getting extra funding because of how many that they have.
Yeah. Like
COVID, when COVID hit. Mm-hmm. You're in the hospital. So many people died of COVID that actually had heart attacks.
Or other things. Yeah. And we know all this is happening when the federal government gives federal incentives money to the states for something, they incentivize it, and you get more of what you incentivize. So yeah, we had more COVID than we actually had. We have the illegals doing all kinds of stuff because of the federal funding. We have things on every level, but it really matters who's in the White House and who's in Congress. It matters so much.
It matters who's in your city council. It matters who your mayor is.
Yes, absolutely. And your sheriff. Mm-hmm. Is the sheriff going to enforce the laws that are your police commissioner, police chief? Are they going to enforce the laws that have actually been passed?
Mm-hmm. Well, before anybody says anything, first of all, my daughter-in-law is actually from Russia. So I don't hate people from other countries. I love people from other countries. And Larissa is just a huge asset to our family.
And I'm going to tell you, my daughter's grandmother was from Mexico City, and she came here legally.
There you go. What is wrong with coming in legally? And I mean, my daughter-in-law, no one gets more upset about illegals than her. You don't take anybody off more than her. And she was brought here when she was 9 years old, taught English. She knows more U.S. history than most kids do nowadays. But what's wrong with being proud to be an American?
Go ahead, Kathy. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
We were knocking on doors campaigning for President Trump in Georgia, outside the Atlanta area. And we would find these communities of people that were not originally from here. And they overwhelmingly, they'd come here they'd done the right things, and they wanted to see all of this illegal stuff stopped and seeing us secure the border. They felt like it was unfair. And I've seen that over and over and over. Right, Kathy?
I was just going to say that a lot of the legal immigrants that are here, they're completely against what's going on. There's a couple of the angel moms, or at least one that I know of, that is, she is a legal immigrant that immigrated here legally, and it took years for her to get here, and she did everything she was supposed to do. And so how fair is it that we've said, okay, all of you people that stood in line and have done everything you were supposed to do, waited the time, registered, done everything right, but these people do it wrong, and it's okay, we're just going to let them stay? What kind of a message is that sending?
Well, and it costs so much to be legal. I know someone very dear who is not from here originally, and she has a green card and wants to be an American citizen. And I said, well, then be an American citizen. She said, you don't understand. It costs a small fortune to become an American, and it makes her mad. She said, and then when I see people just walk across the border, they're given a card and they can do whatever the heck. They can murder. They can do whatever they want to do, and nothing is done about it.
Yeah, that's right.
This country needs to come up against all of this.
And I think more and more people are slowly. I think that they've seen what a stress that the illegal immigration is putting on our economy. And I think a lot more people are coming around to realizing that it's hurting us. And there's so many that's come over the border. And I'm not saying all of them are bad, because they're all not bad. But there are those ones that have been deported and they come back with another name and a whole new identity and go to another state and commit another crime. And this just goes on and on and on. But if it were to continue the way it has, if you don't know anybody that's been affected by a violent crime from an illegal, you will. It's only a matter of time. This has to get put under control. It really does.
Yeah.
And this last election, in August, we had another parole hearing for the man. This is the third one that we had to go to. And if he would have gotten approved for the parole, he would have been released back onto the streets. And there's no doubt in my mind he would have reoffended. Now that President Trump has won the election, I'm able to sleep again at night knowing that he's not going to have the chance, and he won't have the chance to come back legally or ever, if possible. And I can't tell you what that has meant for my family.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure. Yeah. Can you believe half the show is over? We're going to have to go into a commercial break. Mm-hmm. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. Time flies. Great information.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
I'm excited to announce our Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. Our famous My Slippers, they haven't been on sale for over a year. Regularly $119.98, now only $59.98. Our 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. Bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save on all MyPillow products. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. Or our 6-piece towel sets, just $29.98. But that's not all. I'm extending our 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st of 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free.
The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain-fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462.
Good afternoon. We are back. My name is Donna, and I am your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. Central. You can also find us on all the social media sites when I'm not kicked off of YouTube and Facebook and some of those, which I am frequently, and I wear it as a badge of honor. So, but you can find us on social media. Me, we, and all the other good conservative ones as well. Television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, and we are syndicated on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com, another place where you can have your voice as well. As a matter of fact, Kathy and Terry, I'm going to talk with the folks who own the newscasters. You guys need a place there as well. You need to be able to get that voice out there. It'll be a good spot for you. Absolutely. Okay, Terri LaPoint, let's talk to you just for a few minutes how folks can find your book. I love this, and it can't be read enough. And every time I read it, I pick up something else, always something different. So it's a must read. This would be a great Christmas present.
It would. It absolutely would, and you can get a signed copy if you want. Of course, it's available on Amazon and any of your booksandmillion.com or barnesandnoble.com. It's also available at realnewsspark.com/book/. And through that link, you can order a signed copy, and we can get that to you. And so just, yeah, it would be a great gift. It actually, I don't think I've even told you this. It just won an award from International. Oh, did you?
Shared it, but tell everybody. I want to.
Oh, okay. Yes. So International Book Awards, International Impact Book Awards. It won an award for crime thriller. That's what they called it. So,
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I was very excited. And the name Impact, International Impact, that is my prayer, that this book and this story, that Kathy's story will have an international impact, and it will bring about change, and it will result in these trafficked kids being returned home, and stronger laws and things happening to strengthen protections for families. And of course, for the illegal immigration, that's all about families too. It's about protecting our families and strengthening families. So,
well, in the past few decades, we've been kind of brought to this point, I think, for a reason. And because there's so many things we've been told back in, the 1970s, 1980s, mind your own business, let people do what they wanted, and you'll see things. I mean, like, what can you say? You live out in the country and someone has a house or whatever, and the windows are blacked out. That kind of tells me they could be making meth, maybe, and then when you call law enforcement, sometimes they do nothing about it. And you're saying, look, I'm giving you a lead. Okay, someone is not doing the right thing in there. Or you start noticing little things about kids that don't seem quite right. Something's not right at home. So I think that's how we got led to where we're at right now. Don't notice these things. You didn't see what you just saw.
Yeah. But unfortunately, when people try to call, to protect kids, and they'll call Child Protective Services, they don't realize that sometimes that's all that little call was all the foot in the door they needed to get in there and take somebody for something that's really not a big deal, not something, maybe a poverty related issue, or something that's not really a criminal thing, not really endangering that child. But then by taking them and putting them into the system, then they're more likely to be abused. They're more likely to be raped or molested. They're more likely to be trafficked. What was it?
Right.
Tell me what Kathy, you just told me something very interesting that I think you had not told me before, about after we first met in the airport when you were reading.
Yes, it was the first meeting, I believe, and you had given me a copy of the medical kidnap book. And I was returning home. I was sitting at the airport waiting to catch my flight, and I was sitting in one of the seats that face the aisle where everybody walks down to get to their hub. And I was reading the book, and a man came over, an Indian man, and sat down next to me. And he sat there and he didn't say anything for a minute. And then he said, "Are you enjoying the book?" And I said, "Well, actually, yes. I met one of the authors to it, and I am just, I can't stop reading it." And he looked at me and he said he is a pediatrician. And everything that is in there is 100% true, and started telling me some of the stuff he had seen. As a doctor, he said, so many of the pediatricians and the doctors are making money off these cases with the kids, and even for organ donations and blood types. And I can't remember the entire conversation. I just remember I was just shocked listening to him. I was still in a very early trauma stage, so I have some memory lapses still. But I remember sitting there thinking, oh my God, this is true. This is a total stranger. And he said one of the big issues was when there was kids and they'd been turning them in and getting the kickbacks on them. The kids were being used for organ donation. And I could not believe what I was hearing. I could not believe what I was hearing. And this was a total stranger. And they started calling our flight to get in line to board. And I told him, I guess I'll see you on the flight. And he said, yes. And he turned around. I turned around and see him walking back down. He wasn't even on that flight. He was walking back down the other way to wherever. And I boarded just thinking to myself, that was really strange. Really strange.
I don't think there are chance meetings. I really, and that could have been just to help you, God helping you, so you could be a little more motivated, stay motivated in what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there are chance meetings.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe in coincidences at all anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So
I found it fascinating. You said like for the blood types, because that was a pattern I started noticing. There were these babies, especially in the cases where it was babies being taken. Specific blood types were being taken more than others, and I didn't know this. I mean, I went into all of this thinking, I'm just trying to find out what's going on. I'm trying to find the truth, just like y'all are. We're trying to find the truth, and specific blood types would come up. People would ask me about the organ harvesting and stuff, and I thought, now I haven't had a specific story come across that did that, but then I did have one where a child with a very, very rare medical condition, and they ended up killing her. And then I remember, I'll never forget this advocate telling me she was worth more for her parts than she was as a person. It was Noriah in Georgia. And I met this little girl. She was precious, but she had this rare medical condition. She was worth more for her parts. How is that? How can that happen in America? But it's happening, and to hear you talk about this doctor that is confirming that. I noticed, and I don't know if I've talked about this before on your show, that blonde hair, blue-eyed kids are most in demand. It is uncanny how many people, they'll send an email. I don't know what they look like. I don't know what ethnicity, anything. They're sending an email. We talk on the phone, get the initial conversations going, and somewhere in there, they'll say something about the kid's blonde hair or something. I'll say, oh, well, and what color eyes? Oh, blue eyes. I mean, it's just uncanny how many of these stories have blonde hair, blue-eyed kids.
Well, let me tell you something. Sitting in court when we got into court after my daughter died, we had filed for the court date to get in there. They acted like we were not even there. We were at the table at the front, and repeatedly the judge kept asking, is this child adoptable to DHS? And they kept responding, yes. And so I'm telling my attorney, I'm like, why are you not saying it? And he's like, just hold on. They're just addressing this part, and then it'll be our turn. And I, and it was making me very uncomfortable. And, I have found out since, and after talking to a lot of other parents, this is a common thing that the judges are asking: is this child adoptable? And 9 times out of 10, the children that are truly being abused or in danger, they're not adoptable because those are problematic children.
Bingo.
And I mean, that's just the way it is. And so the majority of the time, these kids are being left in this situation until they end up dead, because they can't make any money off of them.
Right.
Well, plenty of money is being made off of aborted babies. I mean, it's a money maker.
Yep.
That's
and their organs too.
Yeah.
They take their organs, and I found something about that from 2020 with it was a Supreme Court case. This has been in the record since at least 2020, and I think probably long before that.
Long before that.
About it.
We're hearing about, and we used to laugh about all these conspiracy theorists, and I'm proud to be one now. I am one. So, but I'm talking about before then, you would hear something, a little bit of buzz would be out there, and you would hear like, oh, they're using aborted babies, like skincare, DNA for skincare and all this kind of stuff. 9 times out of 10, there's something to it. When you hear something like that, so I don't trust any of it. And you guys are going to laugh at me. I make my own skincare. I don't trust any of it. So I have my own garden. I do it all. So this is my point. If it's to make a buck, people will do it. It's just the way it is. And it's like the wealthiest people in the world. Why do you need more money? You've already got all the money in the world. Why?
And I suspect there's even a more sinister thing with the power and the underground. And I mean, you look at the P. Diddy and the Epstein and the blackmail and all of this stuff. And yeah, I would have called people. I would have said you were crazy years ago, when talking about any of this stuff. And the more I find, the more I research, the more I see the evidence of it, the more it's out there. It's getting out there. People are seeing it, but it's out there. The blonde hair, blue eyes are most in demand because they're the easiest. That's the most in demand for traffickers. So most in demand for traffickers. The next most in demand was mixed race kids. And that's becoming so common to have mixed race kids because America's a melting pot, and this is good. I mean, we got these beautiful children being taken from their families, which is disgusting.
And you can always check with the commercials on television and television shows that we're seeing right now. You can tell what the push is just by the characters on a show and just by the characters in a commercial.
Yeah.
You know where the trend is going.
And there's a picture of my daughter and her baby. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw that. And yeah. I look at this all the time, and I'm just constantly I don't know. This is one time in my life I get at a loss for words. I can't fathom that.
And she was a good mom. From everything that I learned about her, she was an amazing mom. She was young, yes, but so were a lot of other moms. I mean, that's kind of been historical. Jesus's mom was young.
Well, they made a big deal in court that they wanted her, in order to give Brooklyn back to her, they wanted her to be able to stand on her own 2 feet, support her and her daughter on her own. And she was a young mom. She was going to school. She was working
high school.
First,
not
high
college.
School.
You were talking high school.
Yeah, high school, and working at Whataburger. She'd go straight from school to work. She had done the delayed entry program into the Navy, and what is wrong with her family helping her? That's one thing I could never understand, but they didn't want her to be able to rely on her family.
Well,
and I believe that was just an excuse because they knew she couldn't make enough money to support herself and a child. And the family who had my granddaughter wanted her, and he was a Walmart executive at the time. And we were in the Fayetteville, Arkansas area where Walmart's home store is. So, and then the judge that we had was the same judge as the whole 19 kids and counting fiasco, Judge Stacy Zimmerman, who's been known not to do the right things. So, I mean, we had everything against us. And we've gone through multiple attorneys. They're all, let's go. We're going to get your granddaughter back. And that's one thing I promised my daughter as her heart was stopping in the hospital that night. I said, I will take care of Brooklyn. I'm going to bring her home. I'm going to make sure she knows who you are every single day and that she grows up happy and healthy. And I haven't been able to keep that promise yet, but I will.
When's the last time you heard from Brooklyn?
Before Haley died is the last time they let me see her. And they didn't let me say goodbye to her or anything else.
So you've not been able to say pictures, nothing?
I do have some pictures. Some more recent pictures of her that somebody had sent to me. But as far as talking to her, the people, the foster family who adopted her had sent an email almost adding salt to the wound saying, oh, well, here's an email address. It'd be nice if you and the family wrote letters to her. And then when she gets old enough, we'll decide if she can have them or not.
But that was after they had filed for a restraining order. So nobody in the family is allowed to do that. And y'all could be punished for even doing anything, contacting her. And it wasn't something you had a chance to address in court.
We were never even informed there was a hearing for adoption.
Right.
I found out by finding a picture online.
Mm-hmm.
We were waiting for our next court date to get into court to fight for her when they adopted her. And the people, they're supposed to stay put and make sure everything is okay for us. I think it's a year or 2 years, 1 to 2. I'm thinking it's a year in Arkansas. But it might have been 2. But they within like 3 months of the adoption being complete, they took her and left the state.
Yeah.
Now they're back in Arkansas, but like I said, we get these great attorneys that they're going to bring her home. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And we put out money and nothing happens. The last attorney that I had was our best shot. Only there was a little conflict because she was also the senator's divorce attorney. But she was working the case and had found a lot of fraud going on in it. And she died, unfortunately, during COVID. You know, so now it's my husband's a disabled veteran, so we're fighting, you know, we have to get an attorney that is not going to be associated with that county, because the ones that are, as soon as you get into court, they just fold with what's told to them.
They just fold.
Yeah. The sad thing about Kathy's story is it's repeated every single day all across America with people you see, people you know, people you love.
Well, we have enough evidence to overturn the whole. I'm sorry, Terry.
No, that's okay.
We have enough evidence to overturn the adoption. We just can't get an attorney that'll actually get into court with us to do it.
Right. It's really hard for families to find good attorneys. But like I said, you know, this story is, I remember reading some of it when I went to Washington, D.C. with some advocates and some families who have been through stuff. And it was kind of an earlier draft of the book before it was published. And it was like, they were all like, yeah, this happened to me. Yeah, that happened in my case. Yeah, this happened in my case. And then one of them said, I can't listen anymore. This is too triggering because it's so much like what happened in my case. So unfortunately, this is happening all over the place, but that is the reason we need to get this story out there, why more and more people need to know about it, because this could happen at the drop of a hat to anybody that you know and love. It's happening all over. I mean, literally my biggest story, if you get that for the Alabama listeners, my biggest story that I ever wrote with medical kidnap happened right here in Alabama, at a hospital in Shelby County, you know, which is such a great place to live, unless DHR gets their sights on your kid.
Uh-huh.
So
I'm seeing so many things correlate to evil. Okay, so I'm gonna take you guys back to when Obama was president, and he wanted to pass Obamacare. And what were we all told? We got to pass it, then we'll see what's inside it. Okay, I'm hearing the same things over and over again. Let's pass it, then we'll make a ruling. Let's do this, let's do that. None of this makes any kind of sense whatsoever. You wouldn't buy a house, would you, without going and looking at it?
But the problem is, most of these states are going to fight anything to stop what's going on, because this is what keeps their lights on, is the money that they're getting for the kids.
Follow the money. Yeah.
I mean, it's billions and billions of dollars. It's for some states, it's half of their state budget. It comes from federal funds for taking kids. Oh, I wish I were. I wish that I were.
I wish you were too. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I had heard that number, but I thought, no, Donna here is hearing it the wrong way. So that's true.
I'd heard one state a long time ago, and then I heard recently that's an average of 40% of states' budgets comes from.
Well, you know, anybody can do a FOIA to any of the states and find out what they're receiving for the funds.
Mm-hmm. I can see the whole reason why folks in office wanted to make sure that President Trump did not get reelected.
Bingo.
Pretty obvious.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo.
So how do you feel with President Trump coming in? Do you feel like it's going to help the cause at all, Kathy?
100%. I'm so excited that he is going to be back in office. We feel safe again, knowing that he's coming.
Now, you've met him personally?
With angel families, yes. I'm one of the angel moms that were in Washington quite often. Mm-hmm. But you know, as far as the DHS issues, he's aware of what's going on. This isn't something that he doesn't know. And from what I had been told, that Melania was planning on taking it on in his second term. This is before he lost the last election. Well, if he lost the last election.
I don't think he lost it.
No, I don't think he did either.
Had he won that.
Yeah. I know, I believe he did too, but that was going to be one of the First Lady issues that she was going to take up, is what I was told. Um, and unfortunately, that didn't end up happening. So I'm really hoping it does this time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I do believe he's going to be addressing the whole issue with the child trafficking and everything else.
Okay, no man in history ever running for anything, dog catcher up to President of the United States, has ever been put through the mill like this guy has been put through.
Mm-hmm.
2 assassination attempts that we know of, relentless, going to court back and forth over stupid stuff.
Believe me, they did it to me. They falsely arrested me and charged me. My house caught on fire the night before somebody pled guilty for killing the senator. We all of a sudden had a gas leak and it went up in flames with us in it. Well, I've been through it. I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
And that's what happens. And that's why he has turned on the deep state. And the deep state is scared to death of him.
Yeah.
They need to be.
They need to be. And I'm so thankful. You know, I told people before the election over and over, it's about the kids. This is all about the kids. It's about our kids. That's what it's about. And it was so funny because by the time Kathy had told me what she said about in his second term, this was going to be what they were going to be addressing. I knew that in my spirit. I always sensed from after he was elected that it was going to be his second term that he dealt with it, that there were reasons, and I believe that there were good reasons, like foundational reasons. And I don't think the infrastructure nor the mentality of the American people was ready to deal with this.
Not yet. Perfect.
People would never have believed it, but now more people
our voices are being heard.
Yeah,
our voices are being heard.
Yeah,
you know, and
that's why. And no one gets more into wanting to get something done yesterday than I am. I'm that type of person. But sometimes it's just not God's timing. Yeah. And I think you both hit the nail right on the head. Now's the timing. People are aware. It's not going to sound so much crazy Donna idea anymore. I mean, it's going to be, there it is. There it is in plain view. Now let's fix it.
Yeah.
And seeing Linda, the senator, she was very vocal about it. We were doing a lot of interviews, and she was putting it out there. And they silenced her.
Amazing. She was amazing. I feel like I know her from all the things that you shared and all the things that I was able to find where she spoke out, and she was just an incredible, incredible person. Very courageous, very courageous.
She loved the people, and she loved President Trump.
I want both of you to talk to people whose eyes have been open, because 4 years ago they weren't. I was laughed at when I said Trump won, all this kind of stuff. Now people are getting it. They're like, yeah, he did win. I think so. This is from liberals that I know. Okay, so let's talk to people whose eyes have been open. What can they do to help with the cause?
First of all, they need to let other people know and get the word out so it keeps traveling. And I think there's going to come a point, and I don't think it's too far off, that people are actually going to stand up and demand change in what's going on. And that's what needs to happen. And if you see these things going on in your cities, at the Capitol or wherever, put the word out there and be part of it. Let us be heard to where this ends.
Mm-hmm. And what is something that we can do? Robert F. Kennedy had the MAHA, letting people know about what's going on and had asking for people and getting them in different positions and had nominations. Well, Connie Regularly, and if you've read the book, you may remember her. She's the founder of Family Forward Project, and she leads a group going to D.C., or she's one of the leaders going to D.C. Several times a year. And she is up for, she's been nominated for the Administration of Children and Families. And she's amazing. You can go to the MAHA, MAHA, Make America Healthy Again website and register to vote for people for different positions. And then Connie Regularly, that's REGULI, and I can send you that link so you can have it. So she's amazing. She is a warrior. She's an attorney who has taken some hits. We actually, I'm not going to go into it, but we found out there's a direct relation to why she didn't win her race for judge in her county, directly related to something in the book, to Kathy Hall's story. With the corruption going on, they didn't want her because of things going on. And they know that she knows how to fight. She knows what is happening. She understands that there are innocent, loving families that are being ripped apart. She understands generational genocide. So if we can get if every one of your listeners would go and nominate Connie regularly for that position, if anybody who knows Robert F. Kennedy or President Trump can put in a good word, that would be amazing, because I think probably more than anybody in the country, she's got the network and the know-how to know how to address these issues and fix this.
Absolutely. 3 minutes left in this segment. Terri, what would you like to say before we leave? And then Kathy, you're next.
There's hope. There's so much hope. We're in a new season. We're coming on a whole new era. These problems have been there they've been there for a long time. We just didn't see them, but now we see them, and now we can do something about them. And we need everybody in this fight. Literally everybody. Everybody can make a phone call. Everybody can call a congressperson. Everybody can talk to your neighbors. Everybody can pray. Everybody can participate, and we need everybody, because this is our kids, our nation's children and families we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Kathy?
I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen to my story and to listen and hopefully speak out and try to stop any of this, whether it's the illegal immigration or the DHS issues, and please stand up and let your voices be heard.
Absolutely. Nothing better you can absolutely do. Absolutely. I wanted to mention this because we got an upcoming election. Okay, we need to be gearing up for it now, because they're going to be some folks who are going to try to come in and mess this whole ball of wax up. They're going to try that. So if you talk with someone and you ask them an opinion about an issue, and if they say, well, it's for the children, or if they say something like, well, Donna, Jesus loves everybody, run from that person as quick as you can and find somebody to replace them. I don't care whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, okay, because there's some Republicans I don't care for as well. So, because a bunch of them are standing in the way. We know that. But you want to go ahead and finish it off, Kathy?
I'm sorry about that. I was just saying, if you stand up and let your voices be heard. The people that we've lost, either due to illegal immigration or the children that are not with their families, their voices need to be heard, and they don't have the voice to put it out there. So let all of us be their voice.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you, ladies. It's so good to be with you. And thank you for everything you both do. I can't say enough thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for watching the show. Now, you could be doing anything else, but you're watching us, and we appreciate it. You can find us on the radio at icradio.media, where we're Fox News affiliates. You can also find us on television, Channel 182, Charter Communications, and syndicated on Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire, and all social media networks when they don't shut me off. And then you can also find us on the Newscaster Studio, thenewscasters.com. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.